Hey, this is your friend in the gospel, Elder A.T. Robson, back with another video. And today is the discussion. This is our segment where we break down the sermon that we heard or actually conducted on this past Sunday. And in this case, the name of this sermon is called Don't Go Thirsty. It comes from Exodus chapter 17, verse 1 through 7. And in that passage, it deals with the children of Israel being asked to move from where they are comfortable to a place where they don't see all their needs met because they don't have any water. They can't see with their spiritual eyes. All they can see is with their natural eyes where God has placed them. Because the text says that God actually told them to move, God told them to stop, and now they're in a place where they don't have the essential needs for the body, which is water. You got to have water. I mentioned on the sermon of this many things that water does. It's like it helps with the joints, it helps with your blood flow, it helps with the oxygen, it helps you look better, it helps clean out waste, it helps you digest your food. I mean, it helps with your kidneys, which also help remove the waste. And even if you have high blood pressure issues, if you have breathing issues, even if you're trying to eat healthy and taking vitamins and minerals, it doesn't work well unless you have water, because that pushes the nutrients and the minerals to your body so your body can get it. And if you're trying to work out, it helps with performance. And if you're trying to lose weight, it helps with losing weight. It does a lot of great things that are beneficial. And the truth is that we don't drink enough water. The study that I had pulled up said that men need roughly between 100 to 120 ounces of water daily. That is 7 to 8 bottles of water, 16.9 bottles of water. And then for women, it said they need about 91 ounces daily. And that roughly is 5 to 6 bottles of water. And if we're honest, we can admit that we don't drink enough water. But the point that I was trying to let everyone know in my sermon is that we know we have a need. Guess who else knows when we have a need? God. He created us. He knows who we are and what we are. He knows what the needs are in our life. A lot of times in urban vernacular, they'll say, you're thirsty. You're thirsty for likes. You're thirsty for attention. You got too many selfies and all that kind of stuff. Or you chasing after this girl. You chasing after this man. Man, don't be thirsty. Don't give your passion or your relentless passion to these things. But in life, there's all kinds of things that we have in our bodies where we want to do and want to accomplish. But ultimately, we need to be able to accomplish the things that God has placed in our life. And in order to do that, you're going to have to remove your comfort zone. Because as I said in the text, the first thing that happened is that God told them to move. And then they moved from the wilderness of sin. And that's not sin as in the moral part of the Bible. That's just a term where it's like Sinai has the word sin in it, and wilderness of Zen is also a place. So those are just locations. So that's not what it's talking about as far as sin, even though you do need to move from sin. But in this case, they moved from what was comfortable because where they were able to feed themselves with food and water, and their children and their livestock and everything else that they had, because they were in a place where God had placed them, and now they're moving to another place where God has placed them, and it did not seem like it made sense. And that's the thing. A lot of time where God wants to move us in order for us to get our blessing, it's different than what we've seen before. It doesn't make sense. And in our life, we have to be able to see with our spiritual eye and trust God. They were obedient because they left. They moved when God told them to move. And a lot of times, if you don't move, if God never tells you to move, you wouldn't move at all. You just stay where you are, where you're comfortable. And so right now we have to be in to move from our comfort zone into a place, a new job, a new relationship, a new position, whatever it is, change is good. Change is good. Growth is good. The Bible said trials and tribulations come to make us strong. So we need some strength. Even when you're training for something or you work out and you see football players and things like that, they don't lift the weight that they know their body can handle. They lift the weight that their body can't handle to as many times as they can. And then when the body's able to handle that, they increase the weight because they want to get stronger. And so we got to be able to move from our comfort zone and begin to trust God where we are. Okay. So one point that I had made is it's the understanding that if God told you to make a move and God told you to go, then it's also God who told you to stop at this new location that doesn't really seem fit for you. We have to be able to follow the leading of the Lord and everything that he says, and move when he says move, and go where he says go. God knew that this was a necessity. He created their body, so therefore he knew that they needed water. There was an interesting story that sparked my attention on this week. I listened to a father who was being interviewed by his son, and they were talking about a certain situation where the son had graduated. He was like first or second in his class, and he had a full ride scholarship to the University of North Carolina, Tar Heels. And the kid decided not to go because the kid decided that he wanted to dance. He trusted in his own ability. Now, by any natural circumstance that we look at our life right now, we know that we're like, man, kid, what are you talking about? Get this job, make this money, and live a nice life. And that's what his father said. He said the son could have had a typical life, typical money, typical situation, and it would have been just typical. And now, because he stepped out on faith, he's internationally known by millions, known across this United States, and he's making more money than he would have had he went to school and graduated. And so the thing about it is, if you want to be great, you have to step out beyond the ordinary to the extraordinary. I'm going to say that again. If you want to be great, you got to step out beyond the ordinary, and move to the extraordinary. Move to beyond where you are, and it has to rely on faith. Your obedience is good in one area, but your faith is lacking. So in this case, you have to make sure your faith matches your obedience, and trust that God has you where you're supposed to be. So in our life, they have this situation. And we all have situation. And in this case, Moses had to tell them to quiet. You got to have somebody to come in and tell you to shut your mouth when you mess up. We need people. We don't like correction. We don't like authority, but yet that's what comes to make us better people. And so we have to look at our situation and ask ourselves, do we want to be better? Do we want to see the blessings in our life flow? In this case, Moses was trying to keep them from being hurt. God was known from opening up the ground and causing these guys to fall in, and he did some other stuff based off his anger. And Moses was like, man, why are you going up against me and fussing at me, and why are you testing God? A lot of times we fuss at the people who are trying to make us better. We fuss at the people who are trying to look out for us. I'm not saying that, that these are people who intentionally want the best done for you. Okay, they're not trying to hurt you. They want the best done for you, and they're looking out for you. And even in those situations, there's some limitations because there's something that God would tell you to do that nobody would understand. But in this case, he's trying to correct them because he knows, and they should know, that what they are doing is wrong and in error. And so he says, why are you upset with me? And then why are you testing God? Why are you testing God's patience? Why are you testing God's love, his understanding, his kindness with your actions? And because, man, when people are messed up, they say stupid things and they don't trust their leadership. And so sometimes you got to trust leadership, trust authority. And essentially, once we get our act together, we got to realize that we are leaders if we're believers, and we're supposed to help guide the world and treat the world with respect, treat the world as the jewels of Jesus Christ, the potential jewels of Jesus Christ, so they can come into the fold and know that we're before people. And so they may have been dealing with some bad leadership before, but now they're under new leadership. Now they're under things. You may have been dealing with some people who didn't like you. They didn't care what you did with your life. They were supposed to be your authority, but they just kind of made your life worse. And now you got some people who trying to encourage you, and you still going off the same way that you did before. You can't do that. And so herein lies the next part, right? Because of their thirst, their natural desires, they went even more crazy, even more stupid into this thing. And that's the problem. When you thirsty, when and you're not getting your needs met, and you think God has forsaken you, and you say some stupid things, you go in some stupid places. So they're like, "Yeah, man, it should have been better if we stayed in Egypt. You brought us out. You brought us all this way out here to die. You gonna kill our children. You gonna kill our livestock, knowing good and well that when they were in Egypt, they were dying. Their lives were being killed. Their children were being killed, and their livestock." And so it's interesting that when we are in a bad situation, we say stupid things, and it ultimately hurts us from receiving the total blessings of God. So so Moses cries out and said, "God, what would you have me do with these people? Because I'm getting upset. They about to stone me." And God gives him some instructions, right? So herein lies where we have instructions over obedience mixed with faith produces results. And that's what you have to understand. My instructions that I'm given, my obedience, and then the faith to trust that the instruction that I am getting will come to pass, will produce results. The 5th verse of that particular text says, the Lord said, "Walk in front of the people." Now, you got to make sure that in everything that you're doing, that you're standing before the people. And then he says, "Take your staff, the one that you used when you struck the water of the Nile, the one that you used, the one that they saw the blessing. Let them let them be reminded about what you do. Let them be reminded about how you are. Let them be reminded of how I am and the power that I am." He had to remind them that this is the God that did all those plagues. This is the God that opened the Red Sea. Excuse me. And so this is what we're dealing with. We have to be reminded that God has us. He's kept us all this time. He didn't bring us this far to leave us in no desert. And that's what he had to remind them. And so and then he says, you're going to strike the water. Okay, we're not going to do that part just yet. But the other piece that in here is that the elders join him. As I said before, you got to go with the goers. You bring only some of the elders with you so they can experience this. They have a connection to those people. They have a connection to you. Everybody can't see it, but go with the goers. Go with the people who can see it so that they can encourage the other people who they have a stronger connection with to help them be able to see what God is doing and have faith in God. 6th verse says, "And I will stand before you on the rock." We got to make sure that God is standing with us and that he is always with us on the rock, on Mount Sinai. Strike the rock, the water will come gushing. Now, this is God telling them what's going to happen before it happens. God is going to help you. God is going to keep you. He's going to make sure that all your needs are met and that you're covered above measure. Then the people will be able to drink. So then Moses, he follows the obedience. He struck the rock. He stood up there. He brought the people, struck the rock as he was told. The water gushed out as the elders looked on. So as those elders looked on, they were able to show. These are like tribal leaders to be able to connect those guys. It also solidifies them as being leaders and allowing the people to see, man, God got you. And here's the other thing. The water was always there. The water was there from the beginning. God created the whole world. He created all of us. And so you got to know that wherever you are, wherever God is taking you, he was there from the beginning. He knows the end. He lives outside of space and time. So he saw you before you was in your mother's womb. He sees you after you leave this earth, and everywhere in between, God has you. And so if you want to be blessed, if you want to receive the best of God in your life, you got to begin to step out on faith to believe beyond what you see. You can have limited blessings based off of what you can see and what you can do, and it will be limited. Or you can trust God and know that God has you. God has you. God has you. And so this is the thing. Don't leave this earth. Don't die thirsty. Don't die without trusting God. And that's the thing. They would not have received what they were supposed to receive unless they trusted God, or at least Moses and some of those elders trusted God. And sometimes you got to go for other people so that they can get an understanding, so they can be blessed themselves until they can see it. But in any case, it is an act of faith to step out on God and see what he does, and then it increases our faith to make when it comes to pass. All right. So that is my discussion video for Don't Go Thirsty for this week. I pray that you've been blessed. Listen, if you desire to pour into the ministry, the Cash App is 365 ATR. Everything that I receive will go back into the ministry. My birthday's coming up on this week, or whenever you're watching this. But listen, well, preachers always want money and all that kind of. No, I don't. If I do want it, it's just so I can help somebody else. So if you desire to be a blessing, so be it. 365 ATR is the Cash App, and it'll all go towards the ministry. And we really appreciate it. Even if it's $1, it helps pushes the ministry. Because one reason why you're here today, or maybe watching this video right now, is because somebody donated and we were able to push ministry. And that's what it's all about. Helping people be their best, be great, be amazing, live your best life, and let's together, as we change for the better, change the world. Listen, I've been long, you've been patient. This is your friend in the gospel, Elder A.T. Robinson, signing off, and just wanted to tell you to go in peace and don't go thirsty. Have a wonderful week. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.